Missing hikers. What really happened? This story happened during the summer when my friends and I set out on a hiking trip through one of the most picturesque yet wild parts of our country. The forest trail through the mountains was famous for its breathtaking views, but few people knew about the dark secrets these places held. Our group consisted of 5 people: me, my best friend Alex, his sister Laura, and 2 of our acquaintances, Ethan and Sarah. We were experienced hikers, well prepared for a long journey. Each of us carried a backpack with supplies, tents, maps, and compasses. On the 3rd day of our hike, we reached one of the key points on the trail, an old wooden cabin standing at the edge of the forest. Every hiker knew of it because it was the only structure within miles. The cabin looked abandoned, but inside there was a small fireplace and a few old benches. "Let's spend the night here," Alex suggested. The night was quiet, but an unsettling feeling hung in the air. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I saw Laura sitting by the window, staring into the forest. "Why aren't you sleeping?" I asked. She turned to me and whispered, "I think someone's out there." I looked out the window but saw nothing, just trees dimly lit by moonlight. "It's just the usual sounds of the forest," I tried to reassure her. But the next morning, it became clear that something was indeed wrong. As we packed to leave, Ethan noticed his compass was broken. The needle was spinning aimlessly. On top of that, Sarah couldn't find the map she'd had the night before. "That's weird," Alex muttered, checking his own compass. "Mine's not working either." Not giving it much thought, we decided to head north, navigating by the sun. But soon, the trail began to change. The path that should have led us to the next waypoint had vanished. We found ourselves surrounded by dense forest. "Maybe we took a wrong turn," Laura suggested, but I was certain we had followed the map. The deeper we ventured, the stranger things became. The forest grew eerily quiet. The birds stopped singing. The wind died down. It was an oppressive silence, broken only by the sound of our footsteps. Eventually, we stumbled upon an old overgrown path. It wasn't marked on the map, but with no other choice, we decided to follow it. After several hours, we emerged into a clearing with another wooden house at its center. This one looked even older than the cabin we'd stayed in the night before. "Where did this come from?" Sarah asked, puzzled. "It's probably another abandoned structure," Alex replied. We approached cautiously. The door was slightly ajar, and a musty, damp smell wafted from within. I didn't want to go inside, but Ethan decided to check it out. "No one's here," he called out after a moment. We stepped in. The floor was littered with scraps of old newspapers, and a dusty table stood in the corner. On one wall hung a faded, sepia-toned photograph. It showed 5 hikers dressed in mid-20th century clothing. "That's odd," Laura murmured. "Why would this photo still be here?" Before I could respond, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. "What the hell?" Alex yelled, rushing to the door. It wouldn't budge. We were trapped. And then I heard it, a faint whisper coming from above. "Do you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. We looked up. Something was moving in the attic. "It's probably an animal," Ethan suggested, though his voice betrayed his fear. Alex found a ladder leading up to the attic and suggested we investigate. None of us wanted to go, but we couldn't just sit there and wait. The attic was dark, but in the corner, I saw something strange. A bundle wrapped in old cloth. Alex unwrapped it and found several handwritten books inside. They were diaries. We began to read. The first diary belonged to a man named Richard, who described his hike through this trail. He and his group had also stumbled upon the house, but as the entries progressed, they became more erratic. The forest changes, we see it, but it watches us. The paths disappear. At night, they come. We can't leave. On the final pages, the text was barely legible, but one entry stood out. They warned us, but we didn't listen. "This house is a trap." We froze, realizing the gravity of our situation. This is just someone's creepy story. Alex tried to convince us, but I saw the fear in his eyes. When we descended to the first floor, the door was open. None of us could explain how, but we didn't waste time questioning. We ran. The forest felt alien again. The paths we'd seen earlier were gone. Every step brought the sensation of being watched. Hours later, we heard a sound, a scream so chilling it froze the blood in our veins. It wasn't human. "Run!" Alex shouted. We ran blindly, not looking back, until we finally burst out onto the forest's edge. Ahead of us was a rescue camp. The rescuers looked surprised to see us and told us they'd been searching for us for 3 days, though to us it felt like only hours had passed. When we described the house, they exchanged uneasy glances and said there was nothing there, but when we tried to retrace our steps, the path had disappeared. Since that day, I've never returned to that forest. Sometimes I dream of the old house and the whispers in the night. And every time I wake, I feel grateful that we made it out alive.